إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. For sure, we praise Allah. We ask Allah for help. We ask Allah to forgive us, and we ask that He pardon our sins and protect us. Today, inshallah, well, first I apologize that I wasn't prepared because I just got a call a couple minutes ago. So alhamdulillah. One of the brothers had me thinking for about a week, so I had a week to prepare. Alhamdulillah. I want to talk about three things today, inshallah. Turning up, testing, and keeping it real. A lot of times, and this turning it up language is something that I'm learning from the young folks. So you know what it is. I guess, and forgive me if I get the translation wrong, it means giving it your all and just going hard and going crazy on whatever it is that you're doing. Putting your passion into it. As I get it, as I understand the term, it means, giving every ounce of your soul to whatever it is, and typically is, going crazy, unorganized. But as we hit these midterms and as we hit the turning point of the school year, I want to remind us to turn up, not just show up to class, but to pour everything that we can into two things, our deen and our work. Our deen and our work. Allah says in the Quran that He created us only to worship Him. He said, I created men and jinn only to worship. In another ayah, He said, He created men and jinn to see which of them were best in amala, which of them are best in deeds and work. So as we turn up, then that means we, working the best. We're giving it our all. And that is encapsulated in this concept of ihsan. And ihsan and taqwa go hand in hand. Ihsan is excellence. So translated in layman's term, turn it up, right? At least related to our schoolwork, related to the work that we give in whoever is paying us to work, right? We turn it up. We make sure that we give everything that we have, not in a negative way, but in a positive way. We give everything. Why? Because we're being judged on it. That's why. We're being judged on it. Even if it's not a race right now, maybe we're not playing in the soccer game and we're trying to win the goal, or maybe we're not in the volleyball match or in a basketball game or something like that, but we're being judged. Even if nobody is around, there is a judge, there is a hakim. There is one who is judging us, right? And it is Allah, the one who created us, the one who woke us up this morning, and the one who will take away our life. The one who, at the end of the day, that's what He said. I mean, He said it, I didn't say it. He said he created us to worship Him. And He created us to see which of us is better in amal, in action, in work, right? So we just gotta go hard, right? We gotta give it our all. As we think about turning up, and I've been contemplating on a concept, it seemed to lack structure, right? It seemed to just go hard, but with willy-nilly, just going crazy on something, right? But that's not actually what we do as Muslims, right? We don't go at things unstructured. And if we are, we got to change. We have to change the way that we approach problems, right? In science, you take it, there's a scientific method, right? I'm saying that scientists, we learn so much from Islam. Yeah, often people try to put this dichotomy between science and religion. And what I found is that the religion they're talking about is not ours. It's not our religion. And I won't badmouth anybody else's, but it's definitely not ours. Because our religion is methodical. Our religion is scientific. Our religion is observable, improvable, right? The things that we talk about in science falls into structure, and that is what Allah gives us. We wake up 5 times a day. We wake up, we must wake up. It is not wake up whenever. We wake up at Fajr, right? Before, in specific, observable, a specific moment. Not watch it on your clock, because the clocks might be wrong or right or whatever, right? It is the time set by Allah. Allah says at this time, right? Between this time and this time, the angel Jibril, Allah sent the angel Jibril to go and show the Prophet ﷺ what were the times of prayer, right? From this time until this time. So that's a structure, right? And then in the middle of the day, and then afternoon, and then as the sun sets, and then late at night, right? All of these things are given to us as structure, right? So as we have this structure, I remind us to turn up with structure, to go hard with structure, not just in our salah, but now as we approach, and I first talk to myself. And then I explain to everybody else, right? As I flip over to, not flip over, but on this concept of keeping it real. Often, our culture, our American culture, and I believe I know when it started. It seemed to have started somewhere in the 80s, right? Where the whole concept of keeping it real seemed to become pervasive. I am this, and so I'm just keeping it real. I'm going to be like this in front of people and behind people. But that's actually un-Islamic, right? Some people think that, I don't want to be a hypocrite. Well, the truth is, the Prophet ﷺ, he was sitting with a group of companions one time, and then Shabab, a young man, came and asked him. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I do this. I kill people. I do all of these bad things, right? Do you think your Lord can help me? You think your Lord can save me? He said, yeah, for sure. But your Lord has covered all of those things from you before, but now you've revealed it. He has protected, he has hidden it from you before. Not from you, but he has protected you from everybody knowing about that, right? And now you uncovered his protection, right? So you take away Allah's protection when you go and air out your dirty business, right? You don't have to keep it real when it's bad. You don't have to be real in a negative way. Well, 2 things. A, because Allah is protected, right? And number 2 is, as you're keeping it real in a negative way, then you're promoting whatever bad behavior that is, right? So I strongly encourage us, and none of us is perfect, right? But if we make a mistake, we ask Allah to forgive us, right? And don't do it in public. And don't air it out. And don't put it on Instagram. And don't put it all, keeping it real. No, I mean, we don't have to do that, right? Don't do the bad things in the first place, but keep it real to yourself if you're going to do it. And then astaghfirullah. Ask Allah to forgive you, right? If you're turning it up in a bad way, keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. Don't promote it, and ask Allah to forgive you. Because Allah is Al-Ghafur. He is Al-Ghafur. He is the one, we started off the Khutbah by asking Allah to forgive us, right? And if we want forgiveness, we have to ask Allah to forgive us, right? And we can't think that we don't need forgiveness. We do. I mean, anybody who can wake up and say, oh, I'm cool. I'm cool. In fact, sometimes you talk to young people, young people, they think that they don't have any sins, right? And it takes getting a little bit of gray in your beard or whatever in your hair. You start to realize, Allah, forgive me for not thinking that was a sin. Forgive me for not thinking that was a sin. And please forgive me for all of the things that I've done wrong and I didn't even think about it, right? Allah is al-Ghafur. And so that's where I remind you, as I remind myself, to turn up in a structured way and prepare for the test. Prepare for the test midterm, end of the year, in life in general, right? Prepared in a structured way. A brother Bisbane, I got an opportunity to speak with some homeless people, or people who were living on the street or asking money on the street or what have you. And the brothers, brother Bisbane and a brother Tony, brother Tony was like, "Oh, you go to a masjid, can I go with you?" And he's a brother living on the street. I'm sure, yeah, there's one masjid right here on campus. You can go with me, right? You can definitely go with me. Talk to people, and there's always opportunities for dialogue, right? You never know. You never know. People are looking for, and I'll tell you what they're looking for. Brother Bisbane reminded me. He said, life out here is horrible. I said, why? He said, no structure. He said, no structure. There's no structure when you're homeless. He said, you do whatever is fine. You have more control to do what? Nothing. You have more control over your life to do nothing. You have more freedom to do nothing. He said, I lack structure in my life. I said, well, there's something called Islam. And we got on the whole topic of what Islam provides. But he reminded me of the structure of Islam, even if we're not in school, even whatever it is that's going on, structure provides a basis for us to move forward. We know what forward is because of structure, right? We don't know whether or not we're moving forward or backward unless we have checkpoints, right? And this is what structure does for us, right? In school, as we study, we should have structure. We say, okay, here's this time I'm going to allocate for this. And, cut it off, especially if you have multiple classes, right? You have multiple projects, you have multiple tasks. You simply have to add the structure. And little by little, you make a dent in each one, and then you will progress. Later, you'll figure out, wow, mashallah, I've been able to make progress in all of them. If not, if you just go in the rabbit hole on one topic and just spend too much time, you have 3 classes, 2 get dropped, you're in a bad situation. So you have to have structure in your life, and structure as you approach classes, and structure as we graduate and move on with our lives, right? So as reflect on that and ask Allah to forgive you. Alhamdulillah. 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 Allah woke us up this morning. Alhamdulillah. Allah gave us life and gave us the opportunity to worship. Gave us the opportunity to worship. There's a concept someone asked me before last week and yesterday. SubhanAllah. The question comes often, and I'm reflecting on it often, and it is tests. And it's not necessarily the test on our books, although it's sort of structured in a similar way as tests, right? But the test of misery, the question comes, well, if there is a Lord, then why does he allow all of this misery? If there is a God, then SubhanAllah, after I had a conversation with a brother, I had the exact same conversation in about 4 hours. The exact same conversation. An older lady, she says, yeah, I used to be religious. Psh, not anymore. I said, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Right? And she says, well, I'm not. You know, if there was a Lord, then he wouldn't allow all of this misery. I said, well, what do you do? You know, what do you do if there's no Lord, right? Why not just smoke yourself? Why not just kill yourself? I mean, you know, if there's no Lord, then, you know, you could do anything, right? Any option, if there is no consequences, then any option will work, right? If you don't know where you're going, then any path will work. Right? Well, I don't want to do that. Well, why not? I mean, I'm not trying to encourage you to do it. I'm just trying to ask some questions, right? There is this thing called tests. This is why, and I told her, I informed her, I said, you know, we actually have a solution in the Quran. I understand her problem, and the problem of other religions, at least what people promote, and thus we, as Muslims, we think the same thing applies to our deen as well, and it's just an incorrect problem, right? The problem that people think exists is Allah is, they think that this God is only good all the time, only good all the time, only good all the time. I can say he's good all the time, but not necessarily to you and me, right? I mean, it's observable in science. It's observable, but that some things don't feel good to us all the time, right? And so if it were that we were expecting God to be observably good all the time, then we have to conclude that there's no God. But we also see too many other reasons to conclude that, hey, something is doing all these things. But I'll just stick to this point of tests. The test of misery. Allah is testing the person who is undergoing this miserable situation, right? And I'll give it in context of not an earthquake, because it's definitely a test, right? I'll give it in the context of someone who is being oppressed, right? Let's say, for instance, a'udhu billah, somebody who is beating their wife, astaghfirullah, and I wanted to just make it, you know, something real that we gotta weed out in it. This is something that is definitely forbidden, to beat your wife, right? The one who is, the one who you were created to be a glove. Allah gave her to you, and Allah gave him, don't beat your husband either, right? Allah gave your spouse to you. I mean, there's mashallah subsistence. No, don't do that either, right? Allah gave your spouse to you to be a glove, right? To be a lebas, to be, you know, a cover for you and a comfort for you, right? And so if it is that it's not comfortable, you got options. Neither of them is beating, right? Neither of them is beating. But I just want to talk about this point of being a test. It is a test for the one who is beating. It is a test for the one who is being beaten. And it is a test for the one who is watching it, right? There are three potential players involved in this particular test. The one who's observing, the one who, what do they call it, device under test. All three is being experimented on and being molded, right? Now, what is the test for the one who is doing the oppression, right? At least one, are you going to stop or not? Are you going to realize that there is a God, and that God has mercy, but that God has revenge, right? He is the all-powerful. If you have no mercy, then he will show you no mercy, right? If you show no mercy, he will show you no mercy, right? So will you realize that that there is one who is going to judge you? Or do you want to go through worse? So you are being tested to see, are you going to stop? Or are you going to continue? Are you going to turn to your Lord and repent? Are you going to turn to your Lord and ask for forgiveness? right? And are you going to try to make it better? Are you going to do something? These are 4 tests that the one who is oppressing is under, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I want to point out that the pain, I'm not saying it's good at all, right, for anything, but it is this aspect of oppression. If the person who's doing the oppression wakes up and realizes and asks for Allah, then the forgiveness is good, right? Forgiveness is good, right? Being able to move forward is good. Now, the one who is being oppressed, again, the same situation. You know, there is a God because that God is testing you. Are you going to ask Allah for protection? Are you going to look elsewhere, right? Are you going to try to do something about it, right? Try to get out of the situation, try to stop it, right? Or are you just going to take it, right? Are you just going to, or not just take it, taking it might be okay as long as it is that you don't do the worst, and that is lose faith, lose hope in Allah. Please move forward, brothers. Are you going to lose faith? Are you going to be like that that one sister did who says, no, I don't believe in God anymore? Right? She lost faith, right? Because she underwent some misery. I explained to her, I said, no, that was a test. Don't fail it. There is no, your legs don't work. You know, your legs don't work until you put some resistance on them. That's why the children, babies, fall down, because they never put any resistance on it, right? The people who are up in space, living on the space station, their legs would be jelly if they came down and just tried to walk on them, if they are not using them all the time. Because in space, the gravity is less, their bone density becomes less, and the muscle dissipates. They lose muscle mass, right? This is the structure that Allah created us in this world, right? So the misery that we believe that we're under, it really is just a test. It's like push-ups. Your muscles get stronger with the test. Now you can't ask Allah, I do. And the Prophet ﷺ told us to do this, and that is to ask Allah for success without misery. To ask Allah for the success, because somebody said, well, I'll do this and I'll do this. He said, don't do that. Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. Go ahead and this Lord got you up with nothing. So he can give you things without you having to go through it. This is typical, but you can ask Allah to give you success without having to go through that trial. So ask Allah for the success without going through the trial. And sometimes that one I struggle with, because it just seems, man, you know, I really want that, and I know I need to, no. And again, like I said, I'm talking to myself first. You know, these trials are making us stronger. Remember, these trials, this test is making us stronger. We're not going to get stronger without the test, unless Allah has some mercy on us. And we do ask Allah to have mercy on us. And so, are you going to forget Allah? Yes or no? If no, wrong, right? Are you going to stop worshiping Allah? Yes or no? Wrong. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's people in Azerbaijan, in Uzbekistan, right? The people, they have to hide their Islam. You would think, oh, these are Muslim countries. No, they're Muslim countries, historically Muslim countries, right? But when the Soviet Union came in, they had to hide their religion. So much so that now they have a whole generation that doesn't know. There are a few people who, underneath the house, they have to have a Hafiz program. They cannot even have it outside. They can't even say that everybody is Muslim, but they can't practice it outside for fear of being oppressed, for fear that somebody will bomb their house. And this is even after the collapse of the Soviet Union, right? So it still goes on. Alhamdulillah, we are here that we can practice our deen. And Allah is testing us to see if we're going to be best in action, right? Now, are we going to worship Him? We should. We should. Even if you're oppressed. Those people are oppressed. There are people in Palestine who are getting shot at, right? Who are getting shot at. The people in Yemen who are getting shot at. The people on the streets of D.C. who are getting shot at, right? Are we going to If I'm the one being shot at, am I going to say, oh, Jesus? Astaghfirullah. Or am I going to say, Ya Allah, please protect us? Let that be the last thing that you do as you're getting shot at, right? Let that be the last word, Ya Allah. Let that be your jihad, right? Let that be the ticket that Allah uses to put you in this heaven. Now comes to the third category, the third device under test, or the third person under test, right? All three, these are tests, right? This third one is the test of the observer. What are you going to do about it, right? Now, a lot of time the philosophers and philosophy people come in, I don't have anything to do with it. Well, okay, that's fine, right? But you have something you can do when you see an oppression. The Prophet ﷺ said, you can change it with your, it's in the Quran. Says you can change something with your hand, you can change something with your tongue, or you can hate it in your heart. And hating it is the weakest of faith. But at least it shows faith, right? Allah knows. You can say, well, Allah knows. Weak, right? But if that's all you got, that's all you got. And Allah allowed that one to be one of your options, right? He didn't say you're horrible because of that, right? He gave that to you as an option. But try to do something about it, right? Try to stop an oppression if you see it. At least try to stop it with your hand. And if not, say something about it, right? And so it is, we have the elections coming up, right? We see oppression going on all the time, right? If you can't vote, tell somebody that you know to vote. Take them to the polls. Make sure that they send in absentee ballot, right? Do something about it. Organize yourselves. Even if you can't vote because you're foreigner or what have you, do something, because you will be directly impacted. You, as Muslims, everybody in this room, whether foreigner or not foreigner, Muslim, you will be directly impacted. You're watching an oppression happen, and you can do something about it. Now, people say, well, I can't do anything about it. I'm just this little one person, and this is this big macrocosm. Hey, the result of the effort is not in your hand. It is the effort that you're being judged on. It is the effort. Allah didn't say to see which of you would have the most success in the world. Why? Because He's the one that gives success. He's not going to judge you based on what He gives you. He's the one who gives you success. He's the one who makes it the outcome. He determines the outcome. This is Al-Qadr. He's the one who determines the outcome. It is you who had to put forth the effort. It is you who had to watch and saw an oppression and do something about it. If not, X. You get an X. Each one of these can get X's. The one who does the oppression, the one who is being oppressed, they can abandon. It's on X. 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 Don't get the X. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it wrong. The one who is observing, even if this one, it looks like they're about to turn, say something. Keep the faith. You can do something. You can just keep the faith. Just ask Allah. Just remind, even if the oppression continues, to remind this one to keep the faith. And the Prophet ﷺ said, help your brother that's the oppressor. The Sahaba said, why? How can I help them? He's the one oppressing. He said, you can help them by stopping them. You can help them by encouraging them to stop. That's how you're helping them. Because in the current path, they're digging themselves deeper into hell. And you can help them by stopping them. So we ask Allah to give us structure in our lives. We ask Allah to let us pass all of our tests. We ask Allah to make us not the oppressors. And we ask Allah not to humiliate us at the hands of oppressors. We ask Allah to give us muscles without humiliation. We ask Allah to never let us be on the receiving or giving side of oppression. We ask Allah to forgive us of all of our sins, forgive our parents and bless our parents with the highest levels of Jannah. We ask Allah to wake us up tomorrow as good Muslims and let the best of our days be our last days, and let our last days be ones in which we worship you the most. Ameen, ameen, ya Rabbil Alameen. We come to Salah.